Yeah, I want to recite to you a poem called The Riding of the Rebel by Will Ogilvie. It's one that's quite emotional for me because it reminds me of my mum who often quoted it. The Riding of the Rebel. He was the Red Creek overseer, a trusted man and true, whose shoulder never left the wheel when there was work to do. Through all the day he rode the run, and when the lights grew dim, the sweetest wife had ever loved would wait and watch for him. She brought him dower of golden hair and eyes of laughing blue, stout heart and cunning bridle hand to guide the mulga through. And when the mob was mustered from the box flats far and wide, she loved to mount the wildest colts that no one else would ride. And once it chanced a wayward steed, half-mouthed and roughly broke, denied the touch of gentle hand, and gentler words she spoke, and plunged forward like the ship that feels the autumn gale. He reared and lost his footing, and fell backwards on the rail. Her husband bent above her with cold terror at his heart. The form was still he loved so well, the wan lips would not part. And all the day entranced she lay, but when the stars smiled down, he heard his name low whispered, and he claimed her still his own. And afterwards he spoke his fear, heart's love, if you should die, unless you take your orders from some other man than I, you shall never finger bridle, never mount on horse's back, till the outlaw on Glen Idle is a broken lady's hack. There's an outlaw on Glen Idle that is known through all the west, and 3 men's lives are on his head, bold riders of the best. The station lads had heard the sneer that travelled far and wide, and flung the answering challenge, "Come and teach us how to ride." "Roll up, you merry riders all, whose honour is to guard. We mustered up the rangers and the rebels in the yard." His open mouth and stamping foot and keen eye flashing fire repeat the temper of his dam, the mettle of his sire. "Roll up, you merry riders all, from hut and camp and town. You'll have to stick like plaster when the stockyard rails go down. But the boss will come down handsome, as the boss is wont to come, to the man who brings a rebel under spurs and greenhide home." And the stockman heard the challenge from the cooper to the bree, and rode from hut and cattle camp by 1 and 2 and 3, to keep their horseman's honour clean and play a hero's part, to best the bold Glen Idle boys and break the rebel's heart. And ruddy Neil the breaker from the riverine came through, with all the latest great breaking gear and all the wiles he knew. But ere the saddle was secured, before a girth was drawn, the rebel's forefoot split his skull. They buried him at dawn. Marora Mick the half-caste from the Flinders River came, to give the South of Border boys a lesson in the game. But he got a roguish welcome when he entered New South Wales, for the rebel used his blood and brains to paint the stockyard rails. And Mulga Jack came over from the Ewanburra side. The horse was never foaled, they say, that Mulga could not ride. With a mouth as hard as a miser's heart, a will like the devil's own, the rebel made for the stony rage, with a man who wouldn't be thrown. The rebel made for the stony range, where the plain and the scrubland meet, and the dead boughs cracked at his shoulder blade, the stones leapt under his feet, and the ragged stems of the gidgers tore and cut as they blundered past, and Jack lay cold in the sunset gold. He had met with his match at last. And once again the challenge rang, the bitterer for scorn, and spoke the bold Glen Idle boys, their jackets mulga torn. "A week have we been hunting him, and riding fast and hard, to give you all another chance. The rebel's in the yard." And the stockman heard the challenge from the cooper to the bree. "But I'm getting old, I'm getting stiff, or I've a wife, you see," came whispered to the border, and the horse they could not tame had saved Glen Idle from disgrace, and cleansed a sullied name. But ere the reddening sun went down, and night on the ranges broke, a stranger youth to the slip-rails rode, and fastened his horse and spoke. Softly and low, yet none so low but that every man there heard, "I've come to tackle your outlaw colt," and he looked as good as his word. He bridled the rebel in failing light, and saddled the colt and drew the straps of his gearing doubly tight, and looked that his length was true. He mounted the rebel and gave the word, and the clattering rails went down, and the outlaw leapt at the open gate and into the shadows brown. But he settled himself to the soothing voice and the touch of the fondling hand, as it followed the curve of his arching neck from wither to forehead band. His flanks were wet with a fresh-sprung sweat, his shoulders laddered with foam, and he bent to the bridle and played with the bit, as he came at a canter home. And the boys were dumb with wonder, and sat, and the Red Creek overseer was the first to drop from the stockyard fence and give him a hearty cheer. He raised his hat in answer, and the golden hair floated free, and the blue eyes lit with laughter as she shouted merrily, "You can reach me down my bridle, give my girths and saddle back, for the outlaw of Glen Idle is a broken lady's hack."